How you doing? This is Chris with Chris's Comments, a show about common sense on common ground. No matter what the subject, today's subject is part 3 of the disaster declaration provided by my Texas State Governor Greg Abbott. Now, in the previous video in part 2, I left off at about that. About the border policies, open border policies, escalating violence of the cartels and all this stuff, and how it's always been a problem. It just hasn't been looked into until now. We've always known that here in San Antonio. We've always known that here in Texas. The problems and the escalating violence of the cartels and all of the stuff that's been going on recently. Greg Abbott, who's made this declaration concerning the migrant policies, who has been basically just spitting on the presidency. It goes without saying that this is definitely something that is just going to cause a disruption to humanitarian cause and abuse authority. It's really all that it's saying. And I've made the points as I've read the actual paragraph, in each paragraph, and I've done sort of like this humanized translation. And the main reason for that is for all of you out there to see what us down here at the bottom of the barrel, those of us who are too busy working 9 to 5, those of us who are too busy trying to make ends meet, what we're noticing, but don't have a platform to state this. You know, we got a lot of spokespeople out there, some that are just spewing rhetoric, others that are spewing propaganda of some kind of ism, fascism, totalitarianism, while others are saying that it's communism and all this other stuff, communism, socialism, and whatever, And in between both sides, we got people like you and me, down to earth people that just really have one simple thing in common: to live a happy life with as little headaches as possible. And that's where this show comes in. We've got a declaration of disaster concerning the migrant immigration situation down at the border, and we've got this declaration that just spits on the administration and doesn't really give any kind of solutions, and anything that does appear to be a solution is really, really overshadowed with the problems that come with it. And as I've explained throughout the 2 previous videos, this is the continuation. Please pay attention, but most importantly, after this, do your own studying. Do your own studying and look at this for what it actually is. It's just a very, very concerning move that's leading to just plain wrong. It looks good on paper, but you will not be seeing it as good when it actually happens. Continuing to paragraph 14. The arrest of human smugglers by state and local law enforcement, combined with increased arrests connected with other border-related crime, threatens to substantially increase inmate population in jails to the extent that there may not be an adequate number of beds available. Okay. Again. Threatens to substantially increase inmate population. Okay? The combined increase of arrests and the arrest of human smugglers threatens to substantially increase inmate population to the extent that there may not be adequate number of beds available. That's his big concern concerning immigration. Not the beds for the children, not the beds for the migrants, not the beds for the migrant families, asylum-seeking migrants. Okay? Asylum-seeking migrants. This is what's going on in this person's mind. Now, everything about that paragraph is disgustingly wrong on a moral sense. Plus, it's griping and complaining about having to do work to top it all off. You know, you have no choice but to do that. And yet here he is saying, oh, this might be a concern. I might not have enough beds. That's just disgusting, okay? It's disgusting. And all I saw was, Biden's bad for making my law enforcement to do its job, forcing me to have to do work to figure out how to fit in inmate beds, which might mean that I'll have to do work on migrants' beds. Okay, that's all that I saw out of this. That's all that I saw. And it's just plain wrong for our political leader to be complaining about something like this. Moving on. I could go on and on, but as you can see, you probably could too, just taking a look at that. But we still have a little bit ways to go. The federal government's failure to, this is paragraph 15 now, and you'll notice every single one of them starts with whereas this, whereas that, whereas this comment. The federal government's failure to secure the border has led to so many individuals unlawfully crossing the border that it has unilaterally established roughly 10 new migrant detention facilities in Texas that are operated exclusively by the federal government without any state regulation or oversight. Okay, that's also another dumb comment. Okay, if the federal government has unilaterally established 10 new migrant facilities, then it's not a failure on their part of the border, because that's their purpose, to set up holding facilities. 10 new ones? Hell, I wasn't even aware of that. But there they are, especially without state regulation or oversight, given their track record of abuse and even investigating claims of assault. Okay? Claims by the victims themselves. That entire paragraph is just dumb. Paragraph 15. Now, paragraph 16, while Texas previously licensed certain residential facilities that house unaccompanied alien children or families, the U.S. Constitution prohibits the federal government from commandeering the state of Texas or its officials to continue administrating state-licensed facilities in response to a federal migration detention crisis caused by the acts or emissions of the federal government. Okay, there it is again. Yet another legalized attempt for Abbott to pull resources to counter the cause of hope and rescue just because Biden. You get what you see this now, right? Read it. Read it for yourself. It's the 15th paragraph. No, 16th. I'm sorry. It's the 16th paragraph. He's going to try to legalize countering by pulling resources to counter the cause. The humanitarian cause. The humanitarian cause, which is under, here in Texas, Operation Lone Star. Okay? The rescue efforts, which is done by every single agency that are involved, that are also rooting out bad agencies. As I've stated in the previous video, part 1 of this segment, with SKW Estrella, SOS-1, and the first one that I mentioned, which was... Oops. Oh my god, I can't believe... Okay, I've got it all conjured up here. And I'm gonna... NACC. Okay, he's just completely legalizing pulling resources to counter this cause. Despite the fact that the bad seeds are being rooted out, currently the stuff like Habitat for Humanity and American Red Cross and all them are still working and fulfilling their duties. Moving up to chapter 17. Okay. The unabated influx of individuals resulting from the federal government policies threatens a negatively impact state licensed residential facilities, including those that serve Texas children in foster care. This one's a little interesting, but at the same time, this segment is not only subject to interpretation, it's completely argumentative. Okay? The Texas foster care agencies have been hurting for small numbers of years now. Here in San Antonio, we've had a foster center shut down because of the high cost of upgrades and maintenances, regardless of what Abbott calls an influx of migrants at the fault of the government. Okay, we've got this going on at a national level to top it all off. I looked into it while I was researching this. At a national level, for the past 11 years, as far back as I've gone, it could be even more than that. It could be 15 to 20 years. Foster cares and facilities have been undergoing a lot of problems with putting child abusers who somehow managed to pass the background checks, and including abuses from the foster care supervisors themselves, workers themselves, staff members and such. We see it all the time, primarily on the elderly, where workers will abuse and sometimes batter them in their nursing care homes. Okay, this has been going on for quite a few times. Greg Abbott in this declaration is saying that it's all a migrant thing and it's all Biden. Okay, it's Biden that's at fault. Again, of a number of years of this problem. But I'm sticking here to Texas. Okay, I'm not going to start going after anybody over there. This is what's going on over here. If something like this you see going on in your neck of the woods, by all means, post it. Post it. Share it with everybody. Share it on YouTube. Share it with everybody. No differently. Don't just follow my stuff. And by all means, don't follow the current people who are following rhetoric on one area and nothing but propaganda on the other. Take a step back. Look. Post. Okay? Moving on. Because I'm halfway done with the time. Not necessarily with the declaration. Moving on to 19. Okay, here we go. The legislature has, in section 418.0041, defined a disaster as the occurrence or imminent threat of widespread or severe damage, injury, or loss of life or property resulting from any natural or man-made cause. Did you get that? He said a definition. Section 418.0041 will be the defining excuse used to permit law enforcement to use to its abuses. That's all that he just said. That's all that he just said. That's the section of law that he's going to use for law enforcement to attack people in the name of protecting property, or what he calls an imminent threat. What a lot of people have been calling an imminent threat when little children were crossing the border. Okay, that's all that he just said. That he's going to make no distinction, and he's got it legally printed in this declaration. Under Texas law, paragraph 20, if you have the declaration itself, under Texas law, declaring a disaster allows the use of all available state and local resources needing to manage the situation, activates the State of Emergency Management Plan, and empowers the Texas Division of emergency management to reassign and fully utilize appropriate personnel where they are needed most. Okay, those are the key words to pay attention to right there. All right? The Texas Division of Emergency Employment, the TDEM, quote, to reassign and fully utilize appropriate personnel, okay, will be how the migrants will be placed back into cages or separated or both, and even more so, be subjugated to the unlawful abuse of those that are in charge of them. And it will be blanketed with the protection of the TDEM agency. All right? This is very important here, because this is how a lot of criminals from the 4,500 cases of assault, abuse, mistreatment, assaults, and even sexual assaults from 2014 to 2018 have gotten away without anybody suffering, especially the ones that are guilty of committing these crimes. Those exact people that were actually doing the crimes, not just the ones that are in charge, not just the ones that said, hey, they're okay, I vouch for them. None of them got touched. None of them. And it was because of moves just like this, where a division of emergency management, the Texas version, an agency, will be kept in charge because they were appropriated personnel. That's the thing you got to look out for as we live here in the Lone Star State. That's very important. This is another key thing, okay? Now here's a continuation of that on paragraph 21. The legislature has also, in section 12.50 of the Texas Penal Code, increased the punishments available for certain criminal offenses committed in an area for which a disaster has been declared, okay, like the Texas border, including criminal trespass, burglary, and theft. All right, now that looks good on paper. Okay, but let's just stick to ballistics here, okay? Criminals are supposed to be punished anyway. But with Abbott having law enforcement on captured asylum seekers, the actual criminals won't be facing any punishment at all. As I've stated before, they're going to be blanketed by an agency. TDEM is one of them. Okay? Border Patrol, DPS, all of them. And they're going to be blanketed and covered by this. And that's just plain wrong. This is one of the most obvious legalized versions of covering it up and permitting the abuses from taking place. Now, as we move on to looking good in accordance to this thing, because it all looks good on paper. Somebody reads it and it says this is great, but check this out. Here's where we come back to my belief. It's all about the money. Belief is the tool. The rule of thumb in looking at things when you take a step back and see and wonder why and how. It's all about the money. Belief is the tool. Paragraph 22. Declaring a disaster also allows the state of Texas to request federal funding for costs related to the disaster. And a number of counties have been already declared a local disaster and started accounting for costs that can be made part of a request. And he lists all the counties: Crockett County, Edwards, Goliad, Gonzales, Huffsped, Jeff Davis County, Jim Hogg County, Kinney, Lavaca, LaSalle, Maverick, Presidio, Uvalde, Real, and Valverde counties. Okay, that's just the start of this. And there's the money issue in plain sight. Okay? Biden is going to profit big in the long run after settling the migrant issues. Abbott hasn't profited diddly squat. Now he has the intention to, not by rescuing asylum seekers, but by finding the government, okay? By pressing charges. Sheltering asylum seekers goes against his notoriously known acts of gerrymandering. Until he can find a way to redistrict these counties, especially where his constituents live, he's going to throw a huge repair cost fees suit at the administration. He might do it anyway, even after the rezonings of the district to where the heavy costs of humanitarianism does not affect his people. You know what I mean? The people that are backing him up, the people that are following him, the people that, pay him. It's just that obvious. Money is always an issue until the politician can get his hands in the till. Okay? He's complained about the costs. He's complained about the cost of everything, time, effort, lives, and all this good stuff. But now, clear as day, in plain sight, he's going after the money himself with this suits in charge of actions. And I'm out of time. I just now noticed that. This paragraph is written twice, and I'll restate that on part 4 of this. We're almost done here. And then I'm giving my closing statements. We'll see you in a bit. Hang in there. It's all about taking a step back and looking at everything to see what's really going on. And that's where this show comes in. This is Chris with Chris's Comments. Ending part 3. Out.